of Microlearning once again, this time with Kate from 7TAPS, which is very exciting. So first of all, thank you for taking the time out to join us. And as is kind of becoming my catchphrase, I'll get out of the way and hand over the screen to you.
Thank you so much, Tom, for such an intro, and thanks for having me here. Hey, everyone, I'm really excited to be here, and I've already seen lots of familiar names in the chat, so hey, everyone. And today we're gonna talk about microlearning examples and how to use them right away. First of all, just a quick intro for people who are not familiar with me or 7TAPS. I'm an L&D professional with a marketing background. Previously, I worked for an L&D consulting company, and now I'm a very passionate business owner. And 7TAPS takes most of my time and energy. I guess this good boy on the second picture would love to get the same attention, but currently I'm all in my work. As you can also see from the picture, I'm a fan of Tim Slade's book. Let me know if you are in their community too. And yeah, hey, Mike. Before we start, I'd love to make just a quick note that I'm not a professional public speaker, and probably you will notice that I like some skills in this field, but I have a great background in the L&D, and thanks for the experience of building my own tool, 7TAPS Microlearning, that has recently reached the #1 spot for microlearning platforms and is used by already 7,000 clients all over the world. I have lots of examples to share with you, so just forgive me if this session won't be as interactive as you like it to be. And if you have any suggestions on how I could improve my presentations and deliver more value to you, just let me know. I'm happy to, and I'm open to take this feedback. And also, I know that just for the sake of engagement, I should look directly in the camera eye. But frankly, for me, it's a bit discomfort. So I'll try to do my best, but forgive me if I won't look right at you. So let's go. First of all, I'd love to get some information about your experience with microlearning. And if you are okay with that, please put in the chat 1 if you have never created any microlearning assets. Put 2 if you know a few tricks, and put 3 if you can call yourself as a proficient creator. I hope there are more than 3 folks in this session. Thanks, Linda, for joining in. Thanks, Stefan. And by the way, during this presentation, I will try to keep my eye on the chat. And if I understand how my answers would fit in my presentation naturally, I will answer them right away. So feel free to post your questions. I will take an eye on that. So more twos. Oh, we have 1 proficient creator here. Camille is not sure whether their experience might be as a kind of a beginner magician or a proficient creator. Hello, hello. So yeah, I guess I have an understanding. We have a range variety of experts here, so I'll try to be valuable for all of you. And I suggest we start with the definition of microlearning. And I know that you're all fed up with the concepts like it's a bite-sized learning, or you should deliver some learning chunks because the internet is flooded with such kind of articles. But for me, having a good definition means that you have some practical basis of how you should proceed with the implementation of this approach. And I prefer turning to the great definition put together by Carol Cobb and Robin DeFelice in their book, Microlearning Short and Sweet. Actually, that's the #1 resource I always recommend for any microlearning enthusiast. a very practical guide on how you could embrace this approach. So, according to Carol Kopp and Robin DeFelice, microlearning is an instructional unit that provides a short engagement in an activity intentionally designed to elicit a specific outcome from the participant. And let's dive deeper into the elements of this definition. First of all, instructional unit. It can be a learning activity, it can be a video, it can be a text message or a job aid, or it can be a 7 taps piece. Just think of one entire piece of instruction that stands by itself. Then, short engagement. Actually, that's a challenging point because microlearning experience is not meant to last beyond a few minutes, and naturally, different learning or performance needs require different lengths of time. And I'm not a fan of standing that you should just limit your asset with 1 minute and no longer. Personally, I stick to the take that the shorter the better and far more likely to be read, understood, and applied. But again, it all depends on the context you are aiming at, and it depends on your learning objective. Sometimes you can allow yourself to even deliver 10-minute bite and it still be a microlearning asset. Sometimes you will have only 30 seconds to help your employee, to help your participant to overcome the business challenge. And also, without some type of engagement, the value of microlearning is lost. And I'm not here talking about some fun activities. And I'm not advocating for more interactivity and more gamification. Definitely not. Because, microlearning is often used somewhere closer to the moment of performance, right? So your instruction may be less interactive. Just imagine the concept. Your learner is looking for some quick instruction on how to deal with their urgent situation. And what they need to grasp the concept, and they need to get back to their work immediately, already equipped with new skill or knowledge, right? So in most cases, they won't have time to match some visuals together or to drag in the missing words. And as a source of quick engagement, I personally prefer to use quizzes to make learners formulate their own conclusions through answering some short and targeted questions. Next, specific outcome. I guess I won't reinvent the wheel here by saying that microlearning asset should help to facilitate a specific outcome. And in most cases, it will be one learning objective per nugget. Sometimes there are situations that there could be 2 objectives. For example, you deliver some byte on a new product feature, and within the same byte, you train your salespeople on how to talk about this feature with clients. And again, we see here is an objective just to create an awareness of this new feature, and you put some very simple skill inside about presenting this feature to clients. But it's better to think of one learning objective always. Further, we'll be talking about microlearning use cases, and we'll take a closer look at this point. Then let's proceed. Intentional design. And one of the worst microlearning examples I stumbled upon was when a company tried to squeeze in an hour-long conventional course into a series of 5-minute chunks. And why this is a disaster? When you do this, the outcomes of your 1-hour course are still in place, right? And a true microlearning piece have only one outcome per nugget. And what I'm leading to here is that the process of designing microlearning must be intentional. Otherwise, the desired outcome simply may not be achieved. Then specific participant. Calling this person a participant, I don't mean just demographics or people experience. I mean also the context this person is, right? For example, think of what circumstances surround your learner when they will turn to this particular piece of content. It's absolutely crucial for microlearning to be aware of this context, because only understanding the context, you might deliver something really practicable, something that can be consumed and something your learner can benefit from. Thus, we are moving to the next part of my presentation. And first of all, microlearning should be applied reasonably. It's definitely not a magic bullet, and it should be a part of your learning strategy. Good learning is always a blend of experiences. However, engaging your micro-learning assets, maybe they won't replace just some conventional learning experiences. It's simply not possible to expect one single method to meet every instructional need. And here's a bad example I faced several times when there is a kind of a microlearning enthusiast in the company, and they drive the deployment, the implementation of the microlearning approach. And usually this person is very passionate about microlearning, and gradually they convert all existing learning assets into micro ones. And the strategy is definitely not a smart one. Microlearning also is not a magic bullet for retention all by itself. But when you deliver some spaced microlearning assets and use them to reinforce a training session, it's a smart choice. Then here on the slide, you can see microlearning use cases depending on their learning objective. I intentionally put here that they are powered by 7 tabs. This is the data I get from 7 tabs clients, and I know for sure from experience that these scenarios are perfect for microlearning. Companies really benefit from them. And further, we'll just dive deeper into some of the use cases. I'll share some good and bad examples so you can make your own conclusions on that. First of all, using microlearning to reinforce an event. That's actually a pretty simple and common scenario for microlearning. And you can enhance your existing training, you can enhance your webinar, or you can even enhance your instructor-led experience or facilitation session with some follow-ups and reminders. Or you can create some warm-ups to prepare your learners before a training session. It actually works great when there's a variety of knowledge levels among your participants. Or you can always refresh some knowledge that were delivered previously by delivering a 5-minute extract. And I guess there is no need for me just to explain to you that learners need to be convinced, they need to be instantly reminded to use their new skills and knowledge, right? So in most cases, this use case doesn't provide any difficulties for learning leaders. And I have only one bad example to share with you here from my personal experience. Once I participated in a day-long workshop, and after it, the organizers shared with me the follow-up. And when I opened it, I realized that they simply, I don't know how they managed to do that, but they squeezed in almost the script of the day into one long PDF file. And I was looking for some visual associations to share with you, and I guess I felt as if I were the golden retriever on this photo. So don't do that. Don't try to squeeze in everything. Follow-up and reminder is a very short and targeted extract of the main information you delivered previously. Then using microlearning to introduce a skill. And the main point here is that you should introduce a very simple skill. A good example is when you create some microlearning asset for your sales team on how to handle one particular customer objection. This is a very small and discrete concept you can aim at. Or you just think of presenting a skill of how to deal with new software or how to fulfill one particular job task using this new corporate software. So you see, that's something very small and discrete. And it works great also with the so-called refreshing training. A good example here. My brother, my older brother, used to work as a sales rep for a pharmaceutical company. And of course, they had regular training. It was great. But I remember that my brother would create some kind of a cheat sheets that he used to refresh his knowledge before the appointment with the doctor. I mean, when he sat somewhere in the healthcare facility, just waiting for this appointment. And now thinking about it, I understand that those handmade cheat sheets should have been provided by the L&D department, right? And just thinking about the context, we understand that our learner resort to this type of content to refresh something. They don't need to go through the 30-minute long webinar. They need just the extract of information they could just recall and finally put into practice during the upcoming meeting. But a bad example here is when you try to force someone to go through a microlearning course that was originally designed for a longer and more in-depth format. That's definitely a recipe for disaster. And one bad example from my experience, just recently I decided to take a course on copywriting for instructional design. And I should say that I respect the author a lot, and I was all willing to take this course, and I had no idea about the way they would deliver this course. So I purchased it. And despite my huge interest in the subject and despite my sincere willingness to consume this information, I was not able to do it. The reason? They just cut it seems to me, they just cut kind of a 1 hour long video course into, I don't know, perhaps 20 short video nuggets. And for me, it was like that experience was torn into pieces. Between those video nuggets, there were some quizzes and very primitive interactions that actually annoyed me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got so annoyed with it just on minute 10, I guess. So when looking for the visual that would kind of remind you of this bad example, I thought of this dollar picture, because 2 halves still equal $1, and actually you can exchange for the new bill now, right? But it doesn't feel right. So make sure that the concept you want to deliver can be realistically broken into some standalone pieces. Now let's proceed. Performance support, or using microlearning to support a job task. I'd say, first of all, that this case is when microlearning shows all its beauty. It's enabling. What you do here, you just use microlearning assets to help your participant to do the job itself, right at the moment of need. And speaking about the moment of need, I should refer to the Gottfredson and Moshe's research on when someone at work needs learning materials. That's a solid and thought-provoking framework, highly recommended. So Gottfredson and Moshe say that training is needed for moments 1 and 2, while support materials are more appropriate for moments 3, 4, and 5. Deliver something extremely specific. Personally, I prefer to call such learning nuggets as how-tos. That's something practical behind this short word for me. And let's get back to the example. I have a bad example to share with you here. Actually, that's a story of a good friend of mine. She once faced some unexperienced problem with their corporate software when she was talking to an angry customer. So the situation was actually intense, and she managed to access their corporate library, and she managed even to find the appropriate piece of content about how to deal with this issue, and she opened it, and just in a second she realized that it's absolutely useless for her. The reason that microlearning asset was so excessively interactive that she just understood that it would take too much time for her to go through the puzzles and quizzes and inbuilt games. And I reached out to her yesterday asking for some great visuals to describe her feelings, her emotions, and that situation. And she shared this picture, childish maze, and that was exactly how she felt when she was all alone with her problem, having that microlearning asset in front of her. So you see, I'm pretty sure that that was not a plan of their L&D department. They were striving to do their best. They designed a great asset, but when we consider the context in which the learner resort to that particular content, it was just poorly reflecting the surrounding, the environment. So make sure that your learning asset fits the real world, the real life. And one more reason I really love performance support with microlearning is that, you know, our learners actually were not hired for coming through some learning pieces. They were hired to deliver some job. They were hired to deliver some operational duties, right? And that will be always their first priority. Learning will come second in most cases. So think of making your learning assets enabling. That's why we actually all are here. That's why L&D industry exists. We try to enable our learners with some materials to help them perform better, right? And to earn more money for a company. Then the next use case is when you prototype e-learning. Actually, that's also one of my favorite use cases, and unfortunately, it's the one that people do not talk a lot about. So you can use microlearning to prototype some conventional e-learning modules. Don't dive into, I don't know, designing a long, full-fledged learning asset. Start with something small, present it to stakeholders, or I don't know, even run an experiment with your learners, get feedback, and thus you can come up with something really valuable and outstanding as a next step. Micro assets definitely serve you well here. There's only one challenge you may face on this path is that prototyping content means you should produce content really quickly. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, right? And to make a really good impression and to get at least fair results of your experiment, your prototype should look at least visually appealing, right? And not every tool provides you with such capabilities. That's why while preparing to this presentation, created a very short and super quick prototype, kind of a reminder of this presentation in 7 tabs. You can see the QR code right on your screen, and you can take your smartphone and scan it. And thus you'll get a quick reminder of what I've delivered previously. I hope that you will enjoy it. Also, I have a link that I can share with those who are not familiar with scanning process. I hope that Tom will help me with putting this link in the chat. And yeah, what I'd love to deliver next is to make a kind of an announcement about the Microlearning Conference. I hope that it won't sound like a sales pitch. This is a place that will be of huge interest for all the microlearning enthusiasts. We will bring together some of the biggest names in the L&D to spill the beans on how they use microlearning as part of their training strategies. And on the upcoming episode on February 24, we'll talk about how to run a microlearning pilot to get buy-in within your organization. We will talk about developing module-based training like HubSpot. And amazing Karen North will share her experience on using microlearning for performance support. And we'll bring joy, tons of surprises and digital magic and hands-on experience. If you simply bring yourself, all are welcome. It's free, and I'm really looking forward to see you all there. And one more announcement for microlearning folks that are willing to get a deeper understanding of how they could embrace and benefit from this approach. Currently, my company and I personally are running a ticket giveaway for a 3-week research-based microlearning course led by amazing microlearning professional Robin DeFelice. If you haven't read Microlearning Short and Sweet book, you should definitely read it. It's a great resource. And all you should do just to get a free ticket is to create a short 7 tabs, just no more than 3 cards, about why you'd love to participate in this training. Share it on LinkedIn, and on February 15, I will pick the 8 winners. Perhaps there will be more if I will be all enthusiastic about entries. So yeah, feel free to join. That will be a great training. I visited one of her courses practically, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere. I can't even put into words how engaging and how practical it was. So having said that, I will wrap up and share some time for answering your questions. This is my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to connect. And if you have any ideas for me to enhance my presentations, and if you can share some skills on public speaking, I'm definitely open to that. Feel free to connect. I'm happy to chat with you. That's all, Tom. Thank you so much for putting the link in the chat.
Awesome. No, I think that was fantastic. So guys, if you've got questions, now is the time. It's the lunch break after this, so don't worry. Biscuits soon, if you were clever enough to buy biscuits ahead of time like I did. but no, you can't have any of mine. Let's jump into the question we already have, which I think is a great question. Let me just move us out of the way. From Morgan, how to decide when microlearning is the right way to go? Is it just a balance between focus and just in time?
That's a great question, Morgan. And actually, I'm not a fan of just trying to introduce microlearning because it's something trendy or you should introduce it to your organization. I try to start with running kind of a needs assessment, and when I understand that I can deliver this particular knowledge and I can train this particular simple skill with some microlearning asset, I don't need actually a full-fledged e-learning module on that. Then go micro. It doesn't make sense when you just try to kind of think of some opportunities you might come up with. When I talk to our clients, in most cases, they all start with some learning re-enhancement, and thus they gradually see how microlearning work, and they see how their learners response to this kind of training reinforcement, and thus learning leaders find new opportunities to run this approach, right? So start with just some warm-ups, follow-ups, reminders, or try to deliver some quick updates on new information, just putting some practical value inside. And I guess you will simply have a bigger picture of the microlearning opportunities in your organization.
Awesome answer. I think that was fantastic. Just checking the comments. I mean, the perception seems to be that everyone was very impressed with your presentation. So I think you did a fantastic job. Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. This was going to be my question. So what was your inspiration, trigger, or light bulb moment that you decided I need to create 7 taps?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you so much for bringing that. Actually, I'm a huge fan of simple yet powerful products, and I saw how our clients, when I was in the eLearning consulting company, I saw how our clients struggled with complicated e-learning platforms, and having a marketing background and having lots of great simple products on my tool set, I was always thinking like, oh, our L&D industry should be just like, leading when we use great products, because we deliver some knowledge. We should be first of all, and well, we have our clumsy products that take time, efforts, and nerves, and they most provide you with really high barriers to start creating something at least basic. So I was thinking about some very rapid and effortless and fun authoring tool that would be engaging for all the parties involved. I mean, creators and learners. And once I had an idea of why people are so obsessed with stories. Actually, there's a great background behind that, because story is a nice way to put some information, to deliver it quickly, and you don't need to explain people how to interact with such content. We're all familiar with this kind of content. And as for the creators, they don't need to kind of pass any onboarding or to watch, I don't know, 3-hour-long courses on how to start using the tool. They don't need any technical background. And as for learners, they don't even perceive this kind of content as learning event. Some of the most exciting feedback I got from learners was that when they already completed the course, it was like, and when will the learning begin? So they had no idea that they were learning. It was so native, organic, and natural for them. So they mainly had some great experience and fun. So that's all about I wanted to deliver with 7 taps.
Fantastic, and I think it's mission accomplished on that front. It's a really fantastic tool. Great. So unless anyone has any very, very last minute questions or things they would like to say, I'm going to drop the link that you shared with me earlier that I didn't notice. My apologies. Into the into the chat there. You can go and check that out. But as I mentioned before, it is time for our break. That was lesson learned number 1 from last year's event. Do allow for lunch breaks. If not for you guys, then just for myself. So we're back at 2:45 UK time, so just over an hour, where we'll be looking at consultative frameworks. We've also got machine learning translation and building leadership and development frameworks this afternoon. So loads more exciting stuff. Do make use of the networking areas and the sessions. And of course, if you want to get in touch with any of our speakers, their details are there. And yes, there we are, the hashtag of the day from from Jonathan Rock there. Hashtag biscuits now. We made it to biscuit time, people. So again, thank you all very much, and we shall see you later today.
Bye bye.